So again, we're talking today about BuddyPress and higher education. So basically, of course, this BuddyPress is a plugin. It is a WordPress plugin found in the WordPress plugin repository. It is one of the more popular downloaded plugins in there. So if you want something else to look at other than my slides, you can follow along, at least in the beginning of WordPress.org/plugin/BuddyPress. It's open source, just like WordPress is. And for those who may not be familiar with BuddyPress at the moment, you can also check out BuddyPress.org. It contains a lot of information, a lot of which I'll be sharing with you. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take a quick little tour of what BuddyPress is about. And it is a bunch of different things put together, and those things being components is the technical term. BuddyPress is a social plugin that you can download, and you get all this stuff with BuddyPress. And we're going to go through some of these, not all of these, but some of these, and see if we can't knock out some of the major ones for you. The great thing about BuddyPress actually is the ability for it to have different components so that you do not always have to encompass or consume the entire functionality of BuddyPress in your projects. A lot of the things that we're going to cover in the next few minutes can be turned on or off. So for a social plugin, probably one of the most important things to have a social plugin that allows people to have accounts on your site is registration. WordPress actually, of course, has a registration system where you can register users. But it is more of a traditional, it kind of emerged from the swamp in terms of having editors and writers and subscribers to your WordPress blog. In a CMS world, users are primarily there to just update or maintain content, along with a few other bells and whistles. But what BuddyPress brings to the table, it adds the social layer component to registration. So what do we mean by that? So out of the box, BuddyPress automatically creates a registration page and allows you to add some profile fields to it. So what that means is a user can register themselves, add their username and password, and fill out some forms. And it's not like going to wp-login.php. It actually gives you a registration form and a login form and a widget all within your WordPress template, or your theme, I should say. So the other good thing about this is that you notice on the example on the left, that is pretty much an out-of-the-box BuddyPress create an account or registration page. And you notice the one on the right has additional things, and we'll talk about how to add those later. But this allows you to, without any code, update your registration page to add some additional profile fields that your users need or you want your users to have off the bat. So registration is great, which leads us to our next item called user profiles. And again, technically you do have a profile in WordPress in the back end, but it is just basically limited to a few fields out of the box, username, email address, resetting your password. I think of there's some old style social stuff in there, but what BuddyPress allows you to do, it gives you the ability to create additional profile fields. Again, the basics don't need any code at all. So for example, in this screenshot here, you can see that you simply click on the profile fields menu on the left, and then BuddyPress allows you to pretty much create these tabs. And you notice there's a base primary tab at the top and a social tab. So you can create tabs or categories, for lack of a better word, of profile fields. You can create a tab just for a user's primary information, a tab for their social information. And you could also add things like a drop-down field for which city your users live in, or what is their favorite color, or anything basically you want. BuddyPress allows you to create a field for. Now, most community sites allow their members to store information about themselves, and here's another example of, this is the front end example. So the previous slide showed pretty much as an admin you set things up. The front end slide here is what the user sees. So you notice in the previous slide, there's base and social. Well, on the left-hand side there's base, and on the right-hand side is social. So I'm switching between the two tabs on my profile field. This is what the user sees in the theme when they click on their profile. So BuddyPress calls the base, the primary of the first tab, base, and you can change that wording. Base is also what appears on that registration form a few slides back. So, all right, so this is a home. This is a version of kind of like a home page for a profile field. This is what other people see in an account. And again, I'm using in all my screenshots, I'm kind of using the very basic minimalistic theme. So we'll talk about BuddyPress themes in a second. But basically, you can allow users to choose if they want on their profile page or their public profile page information to remain public or private. So literally, the users in their profile can choose if they want, for example, their first and last name to be private, or only accessible to friends, or it could be totally open or public. So BuddyPress out of the box allows you to give your users the granular details on like what information they want kept private. And you as the admin can override those settings. So for example, if you have a telephone field that you don't want anyone to post public, you can override the user's preferences. So out of the box, BuddyPress does a really good job of displaying information or allowing the user privacy control as far as their personal information goes, which is a pretty good thing. We'll get to those other tabs in a second, though. So the next thing is member types, and member types was something introduced in BuddyPress 2.2 with the member type API, and this basically allows developers to register their own unique member types. So for example, that could be a teacher, or a student, a coach, whatever. I think you get the picture. And after you assign a user or a type of user, you can also assign profile fields for that particular user. So for example, perhaps the student fields have courses that they like or interests and that sort of thing. And you don't want that, you want that shown only for users, or you want that only available for users to fill out on the profile, and you don't want it for staff. Well, in BuddyPress, it allows you to, when you're creating your profile field, say, hey, this profile field, do you want it for all the member types or just somebody in particular? And in this case, you could pick student, for example. So that's pretty nice member type API for BuddyPress. Now, member types, there is some learning curve a little bit for member types. You usually have to define them in the code. It's really easy, but there is a WordPress plugin I thought I'd bring to your attention now called BP Member Type Generator. And you can get this in the slides that I'll be sharing later. But basically, this allows you without coding to create a member type through the member type API, basically without any code. So if you're interested in member types, you should want to check out that plugin. It's really easy for site administrators to create and manage the types, member types. So activity streams. So we probably are already familiar with activity streams for the most part. Activity streams are found in Facebook and Twitter to various degrees of functionality. You can think of BuddyPress activity streams as cousins to these things. Users can view the activity, and they can even write an update or send an update on the activity streams. You can see there at the top when you're logged in. So activity streams can be global. You can view a global activity stream of a site, or you can go into a specific group, which we'll talk about in a second. Or you can basically view an activity type of a friend. Or your friends, or the people that you follow. So it can filter itself out. And as you can see, BuddyPress allows you to make favorites, comments, and if you write something, you can delete it. And what good would a social site be without friend connections? BuddyPress allows you to basically add friends with a click of a button. And it's a Facebook out of the box. Out of the box, BuddyPress offers a Facebook type of friend relationship, which means that if I want to be your friend, I click this button and I request the friendship and you have to approve it. So it's a two-way street, as they say. BuddyPress offers private messaging as well. Private messaging is actually pretty, it comes with some nice features, including being able to view a conversation or a thread of a conversation. And it's set up kind of like a very simple mailbox or inbox, as it were. I would say something a little bit better than what Twitter offers in DMs, and maybe and then probably simpler with what Facebook offers. It's a pretty nice balance. And as you can see here in this screenshot, this messaging or private communication, you can see the conversation going back and forth with the history of the message. Now, a lot of social sites have notifications. BuddyPress has it too. These can alert you to things that are happening when you're logged into the site. You could be getting a new message or getting a new friend request. And BuddyPress has a really nice API for notifications as well, so you can add your own custom notifications in the themes or plugins that you build. And email, which is surprising, is you're like, oh, wow, what's email doing with social? Well, BuddyPress recently, I say recently, it's probably been at least a year, allows you to edit the text of all the social emails that it sends. So you get an email when your new password is verified, or when you make a friend, or when you have an invitation. So BuddyPress allows you to, about 16 to 18 different kinds of templates. And you can edit the text on those, and you can create your own through the email API as well. And I don't have the screenshot here, but you can actually go inside the customizer and customize the colors, the font size of those emails. So that's pretty good. You'll see the customize option right there in the screenshot under add new and all emails. And finally, BuddyPress has groups. So groups are simply, and we could give an entire talk on this, and someday I will, but you can create, the groups are just basically components, maybe BuddyPress or Facebook pages may be an example, but you can create many social groups on your site, and that could be basically whatever you want. People can join these groups. There are public, private, and invisible groups, depending on your needs. Private groups just require someone to invite you in. Hidden groups do not show up in the BuddyPress directory at all, so you would know they were there unless you were invited. And groups is basically one of the most flexible components in BuddyPress. And if you into BuddyPress and you want to learn about it later, there's lots of things you can use groups for. Everything from creating a conference site, and each group can be the conference, to creating I just lost the word. Anyway, that's what you get for not taking your medication. I'll come back to that. So let's talk about really quick the big wins, or why you should consider using BuddyPress. It's not the only social plugin out there. Well, whenever somebody asks me this, I give them 6 reasons. It's open source, works with almost any WordPress theme. So if the theme is well built, it will wrap itself around the BuddyPress components. This allows you to control your own data, which if you're a WordPress geek is a big thing. It also allows you to control your destiny in terms of customization, building what you need to be built, extending it off rather than trying to rely on a third-party platform to fill your requests. It is great for intranets. There was a talk from Lisa Wilson, I think last week or in December at WordCamp US about this. It was a great talk. BuddyPress is great for intranets, and it's very heavily supported. So let's talk about now some sites, educational sites, higher educational sites, or nonprofits that use WordPress. And I'm going to go through these fairly quickly, but in the slides, you'll notice that I will have the URL for the site. And keep in mind, some of these sites are not exactly probably completely open to the public, but if there is a URL that I have on the slide, you should be able to at least check out the outside the walls, so to speak. But some of these sites the public can access. I'm also going to list the plugins available as well. So the first site what we want to talk about, if you ever do talk about higher education in BuddyPress, one of the biggest and the oldest sites is an academic social network for the City University of New York, or CUNY system. And their developers have given back to BuddyPress in a major way, and their site supports a huge amount of members. In fact, out of the Kani Academic Commons is a plugin we'll talk about later called Comments in a Box. So this is pretty much the first site. If you ever check out higher education sites, this is the first one to check out. And if you know BuddyPress, you'll probably recognize some of the older but still more highly visible and usable UI structures in that as well. Here's another site called the Michigan Tech, and Michigan Tech created something called ParentNet. So ParentNet is a network of hundreds of parents of the Michigan Tech students, and they all have gathered together and created this site so they can swap information, discuss concerns, and get some questions answered from Michigan Tech's representatives. So this is not for the students. This is actually this is a support group for the parents. The last time I checked, it was an older installation of BuddyPress 2, but at the interface, it all works perfectly fine. So this is a great example of forming a basic community with a basic need, just to be informed and to talk to others. And I wish more schools did this, because right now the elementary school my kids go to has a Facebook page, and it's just a mess. Moving on, the Temple University School of Business. And this is located in the school business is located in Philadelphia. And this is actually a WordPress multi-site installation. And there's over 1,000 members, probably more, probably close to 1,500, that take courses on the site. And the courses are set up mainly as like sophisticated blog entries. And the great thing about this is that these members can engage with each other through BuddyPress, and they're also able to publish share their knowledge, publish their knowledge on the site, and that gets carried through the rest of the university through RSS feeds and various forms of sharing. So this is kind of a great example, a little bit more modern, but as you can see, they still use Comments in a Box as their plugin. Again, we'll talk about that in a second. But this is an excellent modern site to check out for one particular school. So Dawson College uses the BuddyPress Groups Documents plugin and the BuddyPress Group Blog plugin. So what they do is that they're a community or a group of teachers that work together as a group to be able to provide instruction and provide content to the students in the areas of like writing instruction, critical thinking, and all that stuff that I'm too dumb to understand. But what's cool, as I said, they use a plugin called BuddyPress Groups Documents. What this does, as you can probably guess by the name, they form BuddyPress groups, and then inside those groups, people can upload and share documents for the people in those groups. So this has a great academic application in that you can create a university or a school or a building and create BuddyPress groups for individual classes. And BuddyPress Groups Documents as a plugin will allow users to upload documents just for those classes. So you don't have like a whole page of documents or uploaded documents that you have to sort through. You just go into the class, which is a BuddyPress group, and then boom, those documents are shared right there. All right. So John Carroll University. This is really interesting to check out. And I asked a gentleman who was in charge of the IT over there by the name of, I'm going to botch this, Mike Richkowski, I believe is his name. I believe that's how you pronounce that. And he basically did a real good job explaining to me like this. There's a mentoring project at John Carroll University. It uses WordPress and BuddyPress to connect the students with the alumni and the alumni who is willing to share their experiences and their ideas. So the alumni enter their information using a gravity form that populates a mentor custom post type. So basically, an alumni comes in, they fill out this form, and when they hit enter, after they've entered their interests and experiences, it creates this post type in WordPress And BuddyPress allows students to log in and browse these mentors, this list of post types, and so that they can connect with its alumni. So long story short, this is a site that connects students with alumni through BuddyPress and WordPress custom post types. And it's really very simple to execute. It's just basically building a form and a little bit of magic and installing BuddyPress. The Foundation of Excellence is a fairly new non-for-profit that works with students from low to moderate incomes. And they did a STEAM summer camp in South Florida last summer for girls 8 to 12. And they do everything from Minecraft to robotics and to building their own WordPress blog. But because this is the ages of the children, they wanted their site not to be public, they wanted it to be secure. So they created pretty much a private network to allow the parents, and the parents only, to see what their kids did on that day and what courses they completed and things that they did. And this was basically powered by BuddyPress. So, you know, kids have accounts, parents have accounts too that are tied into the kids. And from there, this is just a modified profile page with some additional data through the use of some plugins and some custom code. So it's a really good way of showing a non-for-profit and kind of like, you know, this is not higher education, this is lower education. Is that a word? Lower education? All right. Anyway, but you could easily apply this to any scenario of kids or children or students of any ages. Here's the last one. Oops, actually, I think we already did this one. Let's just awkwardly move on, for somehow I have gotten a double slide in here. Okay, let's just pretend that didn't happen, okay? All right, good. All right, so the examples I showed you today are just the tip of the iceberg. BuddyPress is being used in more and more higher education circles. It's just harder to find them sometimes because those people are mostly people that have stumbled on BuddyPress or WordPress on their own. So more kind of being discovered every day. There's also web agencies such as Web Dev Studios and other WordPress agencies that are starting to do more sophisticated BuddyPress installations for higher education. So more of these I learn about every month. But what really is a great BuddyPress site is the one that doesn't look like a WordPress site at all. Usually these take a lot of good effort and time to do, but it really pays off because unless you were a BuddyPress developer, you can't tell sometimes why these sites, if it's using BuddyPress or not, which I think is pretty good. So let's assume that you've been awake this whole time and you've been paying attention and you haven't been browsing Reddit while I was talking, or maybe you have and you can multitask. Let's think about, okay, you've got some interest. What does BuddyPress, what you're interested, let me push you over the edge, metaphorically speaking, in terms of making BuddyPress maybe for your next project. So what are some key questions you want to ask yourself? Well, first of all, does adding social or just user profiles, you can add user profiles in BuddyPress without interaction, although it's kind of boring. But does adding social bring value to the project that you're working with in the higher education field? The higher education, unless the site is just strictly content, then the answer to this probably is yes to some degree, because you do want people at the very least registering and having profiles on your site for probably whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. Now, whether or not those people can interact and build a traditional community or a larger community in that space is up to you. Because remember, BuddyPress components, you can shut off everything but life support, or I'm sorry, that's a Star Trek reference. You can shut off everything but registration and user profiles, and that's all it can be. So you got to decide, though, if that does bring value or you're not adding it just for the sake of adding it. And what I suggest to people is, for those who haven't used BuddyPress and they want to get a feel of it, create a WordPress installation and just take it for a test drive. And you can do that locally on your computer, or you can get like really cheap hosting and do it. More technically savvy people might create a DigitalOcean account, like whatever, it doesn't matter. BuddyPress doesn't consume a lot of resources. So you can play around with it and install the plugins that seem useful to you. Because sometimes BuddyPress plugin, or just like a WordPress plugin, looks like what you need, but it may not be the functionality that you desire. And when you're actually building a BuddyPress site, it's a good idea to give yourself a lot of testing, and that could include private testing and testing with real people, not just yourself, because that's lonely. So, other things to consider. With basic customization, remember that BuddyPress should work with most WordPress themes. This does not mean that BuddyPress is a perfect fit for every WordPress theme. There are themes out there that are specific toward BuddyPress. There are a few I would even recommend. But again, if you have a WordPress theme already, BuddyPress should work with it. And I use the word should because the WordPress theme needs to be like a regular, not a Frankenstein, didn't come from the radioactive ooze type of coding. But for all in all, most themes should accommodate BuddyPress nicely. Now, BuddyPress is a great tool. It's a great foundation. It does suffer a little bit in terms of it's great, but I need this one feature that I can't find as a plugin type of scenario. So don't be surprised that if your needs are just beyond the basic, you will need a developer on some level to help you make further customizations. And those customizations could be easy or not so easy, but don't be surprised if this happens. This is, I got nothing else to say about that. All right, design and UX is as important as code. So if you are building a project more from scratch or you're trying to evaluate a theme, keep in mind that, like I said, design and UX go a long way toward people adopting your site in terms of something that they want to use, especially if you're relying on the social element and people to come back. And design is important. If people can't communicate easily and effectively on your site, then they're not going to use your site. They're going to abandon it or not use it as often. So it would be a shame for you to put in all this hard work and effort and have a design that's counterinductive. I don't know. I really need to buy a thesaurus. Somebody give me a thesaurus. All right. Anyway, finally, one of the things that has been kind of not BuddyPress directly related, but recently you want to think about is if you're creating a BuddyPress site, it allows people to log in. So Firefox and the next version of Chrome that comes out this month is going to begin marking login forms in HTTP as insecure. So that would be a bad thing overall. So you would like to consider making your site secure with an SSL certificate. And SSL certificates once upon a time was for e-commerce, not anymore. Google is beginning to punish those with login forms in their site insecure in their rankings, especially mobile rankings. But SSL certificates also bring good stuff too, like security and preventing security and adding encryption and trust to your site as well. But nowadays, you can't really build a social site anymore without considering adding an SSL certificate or making it secure. And one of the things that, if you haven't heard of yet, to check out is something called Let's Encrypt, which gives you a free SSL certificate. So, but you want to check out the site first because it's not that straightforward, but it almost is. And some hosting companies do support Let's Encrypt and can give you an SSL secure site, sometimes with a click of a button. Like DigitalOcean, for example, I use them a lot, and literally had to flip a switch and my site was secure. So really quick, we're going to go through some plugins that might be useful for your site. We'll go through these pretty quick, but these are available on my slides. The first is Gravity Forms. Gravity Forms is great. It is not the only form plugin I would recommend, but if I had to pick one, that would come in first, at least from a developer perspective. If you're a user, WP Forms is an excellent solution, but it's still growing, and so far Gravity Forms, in terms of customizations, still reigns supreme, at least when it comes to BuddyPress compatibility. So you can create a form, and with Gravity Forms, you can create a custom form that is not a BuddyPress form, essentially. You can create your own login or registration form. with Gravity Forms, and they have add-ons that work with BuddyPress to accomplish that. BuddyPress Follow is another great plugin. This allows you to follow people like on Twitter instead of the Facebook type of friending that BuddyPress has out of the box. WordPress Social Login plugin allows people to log into your site without having to enter a username or password or register. Instead, they can click on their, their Google, their LinkedIn, their Twitter, their Facebook, and a bunch of other possible choices so people can log in with their social login information, which I'm sure you've seen. We've already talked about BP group documents. Basically this allows you to create a page within a BuddyPress group. This allows you to upload any document. Badge OS community add-on allows you to offer kind of like a gaming system where people can earn badges based on community activity and display those badges on their user profiles and in their activity feeds. So that could be kind of a little incentive, something a little bit fun. If you're into something more of an advanced profile search, there is a WordPress plugin for that as well called, oh wow, BP Profile Search. What an awesome name. Okay. There's also a couple of newer plugins that I found recently. BP Better Messages basically enhances your messaging in BuddyPress. You can add emojis, upload files, do a bunch of different things. They have a free and a paid version. So if messaging is kind of something that you want to focus on in your installation, you may want to at least give this a test drive and see if its enhancements are worth it. I don't have a slide for this one, but this BuddyPress plugin allows you, it's called the honorific BuddyPress member's name. So this allows you to have Mr. Bisset, Dr. Roberts, those types of distinctions in names on your BuddyPress site. And here's a BuddyPress plugin that allows you to have emoji in your activity stream. Kind of like a fun plugin to have. And then finally, here's Commons in a Box, which we mentioned previously. It is, if you have to describe it in a nutshell, it's aimed at turning the infrastructure, let me start over. It basically allows you to install BuddyPress along with a number of carefully selected embedded plugins. It also includes like a flexible BuddyPress theme that's been designed for the educational environment and to encourage community engagement. So that could be an awesome place to start if you're test driving BuddyPress. And also, we don't want to forget about the WordPress API, which has been talked about today. I believe Roy gave a talk earlier about the REST API. And with BuddyPress, if you are a developer or know someone who is, then you might want to pay attention to this, because the WordPress API allows WordPress to communicate with mobile applications. And that's going to happen very soon as an extension with BuddyPress. So BuddyPress is in development right now, as BuddyPress is going to have its own REST API feature. So it's going to be a plugin that allows BuddyPress to have this REST API capability similar to what WordPress now has built in. And it's being built now. So if you're a developer and you want to get involved, the BuddyPress development site, buddypress.org, gives you kind of like a preview of it. And this can have applications across the board, from mobile applications to advanced applications on the desktop. So that's pretty much it in terms of BuddyPress. Hopefully I've given you a kind of like a preview of what BuddyPress is and how it could be possibly applied. Now it's up to you to see if it is applicable in your current sites or your future ones. In my slides, I left a couple of resources in there. WordPress TV is probably a good place to start outside of the codex. I also help run BuddyCamp Miami. There's also BuddyCamps like there are WordCamps. There's a few each year. The one in Miami is a pretty popular one. And it's actually one coming up on March 24th, actually, of this year. So if you're in the Florida area or would like to attend WordCamp Miami, BuddyCamp Miami will be on March 24th. We have John Jacoby joining us every year, along with some interesting talks that focus just on BuddyPress. And we would love to have you, especially if you use BuddyPress currently. You can feel free to participate. I think I pimped that enough, right? All right. So you can look at my slides for people to follow. And thank you very much for your attention. And you can wake up now, and I will I'll get out of this slide thing, this contraption, and I'll see if there are any. Okay, Eric, I am out of the maze here. Let's see if there's anything. Oh, wow, people. Oh, it's not my mom, too. People actually responded to questions. That's awesome. So, all right, let's see. I have no idea how much time I have, which makes this ever the much more fun. Let's see. Let's go with let's go from top to bottom here. BuddyPress as an RSS feed plugin, possible? Yes, because actually there is RSS kind of built into BuddyPress. I'm not sure if I probably didn't display it on my slides because I probably cropped it out. But there is base RSS feeds available within BuddyPress. Anything I can think of, there's probably a plugin for it as well. And yes, it does also integrate with Slack. There are ways that you can integrate it with Slack, and I think RSS is one of those ways. I have actually created deeper. I have a plugin, I think in the repo called Buddy Slack that I think does that, integrates with. And there's also a few other Slack plugins that work with WordPress that would also work with BuddyPress. How do you pick a theme that supports BuddyPress? Well, first of all, like I was saying before, all the if you can pick a theme, and if it's well built, it should work with BuddyPress. If you're picking a theme, if you want to pick a theme that's maybe more social, that is a little bit trickier. I'm kind of on the fence on that, because on the one hand, I do recommend people to go to a place like BuddyBoss, or the people that make BuddyBoss create several other good BuddyPress themes. But at the same time, too, a lot of people that create BuddyPress themes also kind of pile on the topics in terms of and then in the end, when you get this theme and you've got it set up, there's a lot of Ajax calls running, or there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. So the first thing I do when I pick if I'm picking a theme for BuddyPress is, well, as a developer, I say, can I build it myself? If I don't want to build it myself, then what are my options? Do I need all this extra stuff that comes with these BuddyPress themes? And if I do, that's great. Some clients like that. If they don't, then I try to pick a theme that is a WordPress theme and add my functionality to that. So I don't have to build something from the ground up from a design perspective. And if that doesn't answer your question, let me know. You can email me later and I can ignore it. Can you load member type and user fields from an LDAP source? Okay, I should give you a disclaimer here. I am not an educational professional. So, oh wow, I just realized you guys were looking at a mountain. Let's look at that. All right, isn't that better? Okay, I agree, the mountain looked better. But anyway, the point is that LDAP is something that I have barely used. I build BuddyPress applications for every industry, but there are ways that you can integrate with LDAP, and I'll see if I can find that. I tweeted about, there is something called the simple LDAP login, which integrates WordPress with LDAP. Now, I'm not sure if this login is dealing with member types and user fields, though. But from a developer perspective, it's as long as you can read LDAP from a coding from underneath the hood, which you can associate. It's very easy to write a plugin or extend to be able to populate member types and user fields. So, Dawson, I realized that was probably the best answer, but if you want to ping me directly, I may be able to help you with that. It's only my lack of knowledge of LDAP is what makes me hold back. But there is, I can also be tweeting out a few LDAP login or plugins as well. If you're interested in other communities common out of language, we're currently using both. Oh, that's very good, Nikki. Thank you for sharing that. All right, so, okay, so let's see if I missed anything. Nope, it doesn't look like I have. Eric, I called to Eric from the great beyond if I have missed anything. Eric's my backseat driver in terms of the presentation here. So far, he has not said anything. So he's either left his desk or he has fallen asleep listening to the sound of my voice. Let's see. SiteGround. Like SiteGround is a good host in terms of providing. People ask me hosting for BuddyPress. Where do you go for BuddyPress hosting? There is a great blog post on that from Bowie, I believe. So I'm tempted here to Google in front of you BuddyPress hosting, but I'm pretty sure you can do that on your own. What kind of host do I use for BuddyPress hosting? Anything that would be a good WordPress host should be a good BuddyPress host. There isn't a host specifically yet for BuddyPress hosting. As far as scaling goes, BuddyPress does just as well as WordPress in terms of scaling. So as long as you are picking the right host, you should be good to go in terms of BuddyPress scaling and BuddyPress hosting. Any host that has hosted WordCamp Miami last year is a good host. That's my punchline anyway, and that allows me to not pick favorites. And I will post the slides after I'm done talking with you guys. So I would expect them to be on the WPCampus online site, or I'll put them on eBay if that helps. Nope. Okay, so let me see if I can ping Eric here. Okay, one more thing before Eric closes me out, and if he hasn't done so already. The BuddyCamp Miami that I mentioned happening on March 24th, if you're not able to physically be there, there's an awfully good chance we might be able to live stream it. I guess we'll find it out. But anyway, just keep monitoring WordCamp Miami feeds, and we'll see what we can do. Okie dokie. I am done. You can reach me at Dimension Media on Twitter, and davidbisset.com is the website with any additional contact information. So, Eric, take me away.